In case you missed it, here's a Sports Animal Rewind.
You hear MJ, that means one thing. That means the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers, Cuonzo Martin, joins us here on the New Sentinel Sports page. Hey, Coach Martin, Vincent, Mike, how you doing?
How you guys doing?
I'm glad we can help you out with some MJ whenever you come on with us.
I appreciate it.
Well, Coach, talk about where you guys are at. You got one more game before you go to the battle for Atlantis, but coming off of the win over Citadel, did you see the progress you wanted to in that third game coming off from the second game?
Well, I think the things we wanted to do going into that game, tried to limit those starters to about 20 minutes, especially, Jerron and Jordanelle. We were able to do that. And if we had our way, we wouldn't have played those guys in the second half, not to take anything away from the Citadel, but just to get those guys, those young guys, and those guys on the bench some minutes, even if it was a four-guard lineup. So I think we have to get better. So I think we got a solid, 7.5, maybe 8 guys. We got to get 9 strong with guys that you can count on a consistent basis.
You played Darius Thompson and Antonio Barton, 2-point guards, together in that game. Talk about that going forward.
Oh, you'll see a lot of that now, depending on which games we play, who we're playing against. But I think you'll see a lot of that because both of those guys are, really combo guards. I mean, I don't know how many true point guards. Everybody says who's a point, but both of those guys are combo guards. They can score the ball. They can put the ball on the floor. They do a really good job of taking care of the basketball. They can make shots. They can get to the rim. They can do a lot of things. They facilitate the offense. And I think as long as Darius continues to improve defensively, which he's made great strides from the time we started. Now he can guard bigger guards, and not to say Antonio couldn't, but I think you'll see both of those guys out there, and it's safe to say they'll be out there together in games.
Coach, who's your half?
I won't reveal my half yet, but I think really more than anything, the half is just that next guy that we can count on. Where you got 8 solid, but I think there may be a couple guys that are part of that half. I know 2 guys don't make a half, but I mean, just we got to get that next guy. We know we got 8 strong on a consistent basis.
Something that we get asked about all the time, and I want you to answer it and address it, is why don't you guys press more? How would you answer that?
Well, that's one thing we're looking at. It's not a bad question. I like that because I like to press a lot more. But I just think when you're pressing, you got to be solid. I'm not one of those guys that wants to press and just give up baskets. And we spend time with it in practice. It's just me feeling safe about it as a coach. But pressing guys, pressure them, not foul. And I think the one thing, even with being aggressive defensively with our man defense, I think we're better. I don't think at the level we need to be and where we will be. Just with the hand checking, you see the game kind of change a little bit against the Citadel with the fouls being called. You kind of get a little hesitant. So now when you press in the backcourt and you fouling right away, it takes a lot of aggressiveness away from you. So it's just one of those deals we have to, I guess me as a coach, have to just say, let's go do it. But you don't want key guys getting in foul trouble. That's the most important thing because you see how the game changes when Jordanelle goes out with 2 quick fouls. You get Jordan McCray with 2 quick fouls in the first half. The game changes because you don't want key guys and guys you rely on for production, especially offensive, to be on the bench, 15, 16 minutes in a game.
Coaches, freshman A.J. Davis is a interesting guy with because of his skill set and what he can do. Is he going to be like the first big off the bench if Jerron needs a break? And if so, how do things change when AJ comes in for one of the bigs?
Well, I don't think it changes at all. I mean, even though he's 6'8", almost 6'9", he's probably 212 pounds. He's really a wing guy. He's always been on the perimeter. He's learning how to play on the blocks and banging and do those things, but he has a level of toughness to him, and he works extremely hard. So he'll be fine with that. But, he'll go against some bigger guys. But we feel like the advantage for us when he comes in the game is his ability to take the ball off the dribble, make plays, get it off the glass, and push the basketball. Because he can do those things. That's what he's used to. There'll be some times you might see him bringing the ball up the floor because, again, that's something he's used to as a basketball player. Now, I just think once he gets the strength and continues to understand this, he got a chance to be a special player because he can go inside out and make plays.
Visiting with Cuonzo Martin, Tennessee men's basketball head coach here on the New Sentinel Sports page, Vince Ferrara and Mike Strange. Coach, give us a little scouting report on your Friday night opponent at Thompson Bowling Arena, Tennessee State.
Well, Tennessee State's an athletic team. They press the ball. Coach Williams just, he lost some key guys. He lost, I think, Covington to the NBA, lost some experienced guys. So just trying to get his guys, they're 0-5 right now. If I'm not mistaken, they lost a tough one Monday night to Lipscomb, but just really trying to get, rotation of flow with so many new guys. But they press, they'll play hard. I think they lost down the stretch at Wichita State, maybe about 5 points. They were up at the half in that game. So they have the pieces, but just the consistency of when you have so many new and young guys in your program.
What do you think of Jerron, how he's come in these 3 games, coming back after that long layoff?
Well, I like what I'm seeing from him. I think that's the biggest key. Plus, the most important thing, after having 4 knee surgeries, is that he doesn't have the swelling and the soreness after games, and that's probably the biggest plus more than anything, because now it's just the pace and getting his body used to going up and down, the physical part of it. And I've said it before, Jerron doesn't have the luxury to come in as a new guy. He comes in with a reputation that people expect him to play at a level, meaning opposing teams. So after gates, he has to be ready for physical play, box out the banging of it, because people knows what he's capable of doing. But I think he's done a great job, especially the last 2 games. I think the first game at Xavier, again, a hostile environment, the emotions, the adrenaline of the game, his first one back, I didn't think he played as well, the way he's capable of playing. But that part is understood, just like a lot of guys. We didn't play the way we're capable of playing. But I think just watching the last 2 games, I thought he really stepped up against Upstate, as far as getting big rebounds, making plays, attacking the rim. He looked like the old Jerron. And then the last game was just a game I tried my best to get he and Jarnell out as fast as possible.
Coach, how will you handle preparations for the battle for Atlantis with so many teams and not knowing who your opponents are going to be? How much advanced scouting are you doing just to sort of prepare a just-in-case situation?
Well, the one of the things we do, with each assistant has a scout, like Coach Webster, he scouted the team, Coach Harrison, Coach Williams. Each one of those guys have a scout. And then we have the live scout games. We'll just take that as we go. But you're scouting the first opponent ahead of time. You're scouting those guys. So those guys already have that part handled. And I'll just scout as we go. So, like, for example, UTEP, I'll scout those guys after our game on Friday. And then we'll go from there. But I don't watch 3 or 4 games in advance. I take care of the task at hand. But those guys already have that part taken care of. And really for us, we work on, zone defense in practice. We work on, 2-2-1 press back to zone. We work on man press. So we see a lot of things in practice, and we try to be consistent with it in practice. So when you see it in the game, it's not foreign to you.
Let me ask you about the officiating in light of the new emphasis and rules this year. You've played 3 real games now. Has it been consistent or not?
Oh, man, I know you're supposed to be careful when you're talking about officiating. Now, one thing I will say, when I watch games on TV, and I see what the officials are trying to do, the calls that they're making that they wouldn't have made last year, but if it's a foul, it's a foul. I do think it takes away some aggressiveness with players as far as being aggressive, closing out. But again, if you watch how the game is played around the rim and the blocks, I thought Jarnell got fouled 8 times in the Citadel game, bumped and banged, and it wasn't a call. So that part. But I think on the perimeter, I think all those are fouls. Hand check, if you don't call it, you call it. But I think around the rim, that's where it gets tricky, because the rule is if you have your forearm on a guy when he's dribbling the basketball, it's considered a foul. And if you watch out Jarnell when he's on the blocks and he has the ball in his hand, guys are bumping and banging him, that should be called a foul every time.
Coach, you're going to have to get on your soapbox again and about Jarnell and the officials. I thought it was effective last year.
Well, we might need to do that, but I think for him that's something he'll see, because and I said it to one of the officials during the game. I said I know he's 270, but I got to correct that. I know he's 260 pounds, and he's a big guy, but a foul is still a foul, and I think you have to make the call.
With your roster and your type of players, is it more of an adjustment for you as opposed to some other teams that may not have the same roster makeup as you?
I think so, and that's a great question. That's something we talk about, because one thing about our team is built physical, tough. You got guys pretty much 6'4", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", physical, strong guys that really pressure and bang you, get you out of your comfort zone. Now, all of a sudden, it takes away a little bit from these guys from the stand. Like Omani Moore, the old rules are great for a guy like that, just a physical presence, just beat you up on the perimeter, you're exhausted at the end of the game. What takes away a little bit is aggressiveness as a basketball player. So now, if the rule stays the same, which I think the rules every 2 years, they talk about it or make changes, you have to look at maybe getting a guy, maybe 6'1", a quick, fast guy off the bounce that can get to the rim and make plays. it kind of changes things somewhat. So I do think you need to look at it.
Josh Richardson's been an awfully good defensive guy on the perimeter. Has the rule change affected the way he plays much or not?
Not at all, because he was never one of those guys that was. He's an athletic defender, and I still don't think he's as good as he could be and should be. I think he's getting there because he's long, he's athletic, he can block shots, he can do a lot of things. He's an intelligent basketball player. But he was never one of the guys that just physical bang you with his defense. He was more positioning, use his length, get in the passing lanes, making it hard on you, blocking shots, doing those type of things. But I don't think it's really affected him as much because we needed him in a big way, and he really stepped up against Upstate. Now, he didn't score a lot, but he really defended and did a tremendous job in locking down those guys defensively.
Coach, we saw we're visiting with Cuonzo Martin here on the new Sentinel Sports page. Last thing with you, Coach. We saw you guys have a 15-0 advantage in fast break points against the Citadel, and you have talked about it a number of times where you want your guys to run and get out in transition when you want to. That being said, with the fans, there is still this perception that you like to slow things down and you don't like to get up and down the court. Are there any numbers, any more increased opportunities in transition this year? Would you like to see your team do it even more in transition?
I like them run it. I like them to run as much as possible. I think you look at our numbers. I can't remember what game we were 6 for 20 and capitalizing in transition. I think more than anything we're missing a lot of layups. We're not capitalizing that area. Mm-hmm. So that's the one of the things you got to take advantage of those situations. But we want to run. We have opportunities to run.